very warm welcome to Let's Get It On. Tonight, I've got a very special guest in the studio. This is none other than the wonderful Linda Lamon. Linda, hello and welcome.
Hello, Suzanne. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Now, we're going to hear all about your music and how it all started. So, I think the best thing for us to do is for you to introduce yourselves to our listeners. Tell us who you are, Linda, and what is all your music about?
Well, I'm a girl from up north, right up. It's Stockport in Cheshire, on the Cheshire-Derbyshire border, actually. And I started being inspired by music from a very early age. It was a natural thing. None of my family were musical. We had a piano in the house, and I used to play by ear, which mesmerized my mother. So yeah, all through my life, really, I've always been tuned into music in one way or another.
I know Stockport very well because
Do you?
yeah, I do because I was born in Manchester. So
Really?
if I start copying your accent, I'm
Yeah.
sorry because it never leaves you, does it?
Well, I've picked other accents up along the way, but you can still hear that Stockport accent, which isn't the same as Manchester, by the way. It's
No,
just
it's
slightly
not. It's
different.
softer, I think,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
No, but we last lived in Northington, which is not far from Stockport, and I had grandparents in Stockport, so I know the area very, very well.
Oh,
How,
great.
how strange is that? So, Linda, tell our listeners about your musical journey. Really, from where did the inspiration and where does it come from for your lyrics, for your songwriting?
Well, I grab it from the air. You hear so many songwriters saying this. The inspiration just hits you when you least expect it, really. So you've got to try and go with it if you can in the
Do,
moment
do you
that you
do you
get
write
it.
them down?
Yes, but Paul McCartney actually said something in an interview once that I related to. You used to write them down, and this is why you hear songwriters saying they wrote them on the back of a fag packet and things like that, or a beer mat, you know. But he actually uses his phone now because you've got the notes, the recording. I can't remember what it's called. I have an iPhone, so you can, no matter when the inspiration comes to you, you've got your phone with you, you can actually sing it into the phone.
So, what I find quite fascinating and quite difficult to do is you've got your lyrics, you've got your story of your song. How on
Yeah.
earth then do you decide to put the musicality to it? How does that come about? And the phrasing of those lyrics?
Well, um, I just picked my guitar up basically, and the guitar has become my best friend. You know, if I've got the guitar held onto my body, it reverberates. You can understand that. I connect emotionally as well as physically with it.
Right.
So I'll look at the words, think about the moments I created those words and how I felt emotionally when I created those words, and then try and find the chord that relates to that feeling. And I find, and any musician will tell you this, once you've found the root note, the root chord of that what you want, then the progression follows. So you follow the progression of that note and see what fits. And it comes actually surprisingly quick.
Because what is fascinating me about your music is that, and we're going to showcase 5 different songs from you this evening, and they're all going to be very different. So your mind must be very populated with lots of different genres, and somehow you interpret your lyrics rather than doing one particular genre. You kind of cross the boundaries, don't you, on nearly all of the tracks that we're going to showcase this evening. How did you do that?
Well, it's life, isn't it? And my life is quite full. And of course I've led a long life. So, well, even as a teenager, actually, I was writing different genres. I just got a very active mind, and I soak in all the life that's around me, and I observe. And I think this is the secret of any writer, songwriter, or novel writer. or artist, in fact, that you need to look at what's going on in you, around you in life, and observe it and store it.
We're going to talk about one particular song which fascinated me when I was listening to it, and I've looked at what the story is behind it. So I think the best thing we ought to do is just showcase one of your first songs. Now, this is called Music in the Box. Now, the intro to this, isn't that Swan Lake?
It is. Well, it's a rock version of Swan Lake.
What made you put that in there?
Because I wrote that song in, I think it was the early 1990s or late 1980s. I can't quite remember. And I was at the kitchen table, and I thought about this musical box I had as a child, and it played Swan Lake. And I must have been 6 or 7, maybe. And my parents had bought me this, because of my fascination with music. My parents had bought me this toy piano. This is before we had a real piano in the house. And I tried playing this tune on my toy piano, because this is the tune that inspired me, Swan Lake, the ballerina going round. And I can't remember the exact details, but this is how it happened that I wanted this intro as Swan Lake, because that was my first memory of being inspired by music.
Well, let's have a listen to Music in the Box by Linda Lamon.
I want to find the music in the box. Please show me how, and where to look is the answer. So very far away. Stay on the inside, never mind the outside. The man of your dreams will come along and find you and show you the way. That's what they told me. That's what they sold me. A young girl's only reason for life. While this writing, there's something wrong. And never forget, girl, where you belong. Your head is high in the clouds. Starting work at 9 instead of 8. Don't you think, girl, that is great? Be grateful for what you got. That's what they told me. That's what they sold me. A young girl's only reason for life. Lipstick and pink lipstick, plastic rollers and ballet. The finger on a Sunday when the artist wasn't there. Sitting on the backseat of the 70X, smoking and hoping that my turn would be next.
That was a beautiful song, Linda. And what I love hearing about is what inspires you, and you know, from an early age. So tell us a little bit about, when did you become a fully fledged musician, singer, songwriter? Did you have other careers before you decided, right, that's it, I'm going to concentrate? Or have you always concentrated on your musical career?
Well, we've got to make a living, haven't we?
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
And unfortunately, music doesn't always provide that unless you're very lucky, like the Beatles or any of the other pop groups that took off in the 1960s. So I did actually earn my living from music at the age of 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I mean, when I got into my teens, I was still writing, but then I sent off my songs or my lyrics to various record companies, and after lots of rejections decided it wasn't good enough. Of course, I know different now, because you have to have so many rejections.
Yes.
And I joined a local band and we played at youth clubs, and then I was auditioned for an all-girl band that didn't come off. And then I joined a resident band in a nightclub in Manchester, actually. Well, you won't remember it because you're far too young. It was Mr. Smith's in Manchester.
Right, no, I don't know that one.
No, and it was a pro band, and I got the job. So I stayed with them and then moved to Leicester with them. And then actually the band broke up temporarily, and I went to work in a recording studio in London, which is now quite famous. The recording studio isn't there, but their product is, and that's Orange. It was Orange Music who make the Orange amps. So yeah, up to that age, I was quite busy with my music.
So you've always orbited music one way or another, and that's quite an early age to be out. So you were live performing then and gigging.
Yeah, I was, absolutely, every night, Sunday lunchtime. So yeah, I got my ground in there, I think.
So do you think audiences have changed since then to today?
Well, it's not that the audiences have changed. It's that there's not as many nightclubs. There was a lot of working men's clubs and nightclubs then. I mean, this is what people did. You know, you went to nightclubs, but now there's very few live music venues.
Yeah.
It's still very popular, but it's gone more over to big concerts, you know, like the big GMEX, and you know, it's gone in a different direction. It's not as intimate.
We touched earlier on your songwriting, and listening to some of your tracks, Linda, they tell a story all the way through. And one of the tracks that we're going to listen to in a little while, it kind of touched me that you're quite a spiritual person. You're quite ethereal in your writing. Where does that come from?
Oh, it comes from being an old hippie. You know, you say you grew up in Manchester. Well, I grew up in Reddish, which is a suburb of Stockport, and at one time it was in Lancashire, so it's right on the edge of Manchester. But there was one very quiet place called Reddish Vale, and my parents always used to take us down there. I was one of 6. Whenever they had the opportunity, they had no money, and I've got very happy memories of running through fields, just going down there with a packed lunch, paddling in the river. Really, it was really a countryside experience, although I lived on the edge of the city. And I think that gave me that connection with nature. So rather than being spiritual, I would say it's more of a connection with nature. And I've always had that since then. I've always felt that I want to get out in nature. I think nature really grounds you and connects you with wherever we came from.
I think that's very true. And I think it's probably good that we listen to your next song, which is entitled Hold On in Love's Name. So tell us a little bit about that. Now, I noted this as a happy hippie track.
Wow. Yeah, well, I'm glad it's come over as that. I actually moved to Dorset after my husband died, and I happened to meet Dr. Brian May, as he was then. He's called Sir Brian May now. And my love of nature sent me walking around the fields in Dorset, and then I noticed that it laid fallow for quite a while, and I wondered what was going on. And I found out that Brian May had actually bought the 160 acres to turn into a woodland, a native woodland particularly, which is very good for habitats. So I wrote a song. He used it for the opening of the woodland, and we became friends. We wrote because of our love of nature. So this was very much in after our conversations with him, because I started supporting his charity Save Me. So this song actually supported Brian May's charity Save Me, because of the desperate need to stop this decimation of woodlands and nature, because we actually rely on species, however small, from the very smallest ant, to supply the natural food chain. And I've realised since actually walking around the woods for the last 10 years, how much we rely on this, and that it's my little effort to raise awareness of the need to protect nature.
I think it's a beautiful song, and I think that I've learned an awful lot about Sir Brian May because of you. Really, I had no idea that he was such a naturist. I had no idea that he was an astronomer. Is it astronomer he is as well?
Yeah, astrophysicist.
Astrophysicist, that's the one. What a clever man, and the foresight to buy land and repopulate it back to nature, because of course nature at the minute, it's quite topical, it's having its revenge on us, isn't it? With all the floodings that we're having. It's a way of nature saying, hang on a minute, you need to stop and think. So let's stop and let's think, and let's listen to Hold On in Love's Name.
I wonder if you share this fear of the future, 'cause I feel your pain so deep. And can you hear the voices that tell
So this particular song then, inspired by Brian May. So you two have become firm friends. So is there more work for you two together? Are you writing more songs for his charity or for them to use?
No, it's not developed in that way, because he wants to try and keep the woodland as pure as possible. He's trying to give it a chance to mature and grow. It's actually looking fantastic at the moment. But I've underlined that project now because it's 10 years, and now that it's almost grown, I mean, I did write a song to celebrate the 10-year. So that was recently performed by the local school children in the village hall. I did a photo exhibition because I'm a photographer as well, and I've been photographing the development of the woodland. So yeah, we did a little concert there. I've not recorded it professionally or got it out there. There are plans to do that, but not right now. But I've written a selection which are out there of songs about animals. One about Mr. Prickles, which is a hedgehog, and another one about Hazel the dormouse. And I've got a little compilation of songs on the go that will actually suit the theme, and I'll probably. I've got an EP out at the moment with some little animal songs out. Again, completely different genre. But I'm working on getting a full compilation together to do an actual EP and other things about animal songs. The one project I am working on at the moment is, because you mentioned Brian's an astrophysicist and nature lover. Well, he's also a 3D geek, which is stereo photography, which is another thing that we have geeky chats about.
You are quite geeky, aren't you, Linda? I think
I am. And he's got his own company called the London Stereoscopic Society.
That's got to be a new word, stereoscopic, hasn't it? It's got to be a new word. Yeah. I've never heard of that before. So
he actually chose one of my photos from the woodland, well, two of them, to put into his latest book, Stereoscopy is Good for You. And I'm a member of the Stereoscopic Society.
You two are doing this, aren't you?
Yes,
somehow.
Yes, I know. So they've asked me now, because of the 10-year anniversary of the woodland, to put a little movie together. So I'm actually working at the moment on this little movie for a 3D presentation, because I've taken pictures in 3D as well. So the songs that I've done about the animals and things will go on this movie. So that's how I'm trying to promote it next.
There's no retirement for you, is there? No retirement.
There's no rest.
You've got lots of work and ideas to do. I can hear that, you know.
Yes.
So let's have another song. So I've chosen the next one as Venus Shine On. And my kind of take on this was it's quite ethereal, but it's kind of country soft rock. And I love that phrase, celestial sister, because of course we do meet celestial sisters throughout our lives, don't we?
Yes.
So tell me the inspiration behind this song before we hear it.
Well, it is. It seems it is a connection again with Brian, because shortly after I met him, he invited me to some science festivals. It's called Starmers. It happens every 2 years. And I thought about it, and I thought, I'm not sure whether I'll like a science festival. But I thought, well, it's in Tenerife. I packed my bikini. I thought, I've got nothing to lose. Do you know, it absolutely blew my mind, because it wasn't just a science festival. The brief that the astrophysicists and astronauts have been given was to keep it simple, so the lectures were just mind-blowing. And of course, I didn't do science when I was a girl, and I've realised now, after going to these festivals, I should have done, really, because I was always, like you said, you found I was a spiritual girl. I was always asking my dad, my poor dad, who was a welder, it wasn't a reader or anything. What? But why? But why? But why? You know, about this, the sky and the universe. I wanted to know, but I never found out. So then, 10 years ago, I was invited to this, and it was like Pandora's box opening. It was just amazing. So I put things down in simple terms from that first festival, songs about the universe. I just sat there and took notes and then took it from there. And this is a later one that I've put together about Venus.
Well, let's have a listen. This is Venus, Shine On.
She's our celestial sister, a goddess of love, her morning and evening star in the universe above. She spins not like our Earth, the second planet from the sun. Dense clouds hide her mountains, but she gleams in the Goldilocks zone. Venus, she guides us all in the skies around the world. Shine on, a wanderer we can clearly see, burning so brightly. Shine on. Venus, she guides us all in the skies around the world. Shine on, a wanderer we can clearly see, burning so brightly. Shine on, Venus, Venus, shine on, a wanderer we can clearly see, burning so brightly. Shine on, casting her shadows, embracing all as one. Venus, Venus, shine on.
Linda, very often I talk to lots of people, and I have done over my own sort of day job, because everybody has a day job, don't they, in the music industry, as well as their musical loves and what have you. And we often talk about earth angels, you know, people who walk the earth and who are very aware, very sensitive, very emotive. And I think that comes across in your music and your songwriting, is that you walk the earth, but you feel and you're sensitive to all of the things, all of the elements that are going on around you. And obviously the friendship that you have with Sir Brian, you know, you two have a lot in common. Do you have grandchildren and children?
Yes, I do.
And what do they think of you?
Oh, they think, oh, Oh dear. What do they think of me? Well, my mother, for example, thought she picked up the wrong baby from the hospital because I'm nothing like my brothers and sisters. And my daughters just think whatever.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, whatever. Just do your thing.
It's mum again. She's doing her thing.
Yeah, it is like that. The grandchildren are bemused.
Yes.
They're all teenagers now. I mean, when they were young, they thought I was a lot of fun
Yes.
because I sit on the floor and create songs with them, or sit in a tent in the garden and amuse them with songs about a blackbird or something, or one of their friends. I just made them up on the spot, and they thought that was wow, you know. And they think I'm a bit of an oddity, to be honest.
But isn't that a lovely legacy to have?
Yeah, but they love me just the same.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the thing with children and grandchildren is but there's no reason, age is no barrier now to be able to be creative. And I think, you know, they might not appreciate it now. Have they watched you perform live? Have they been to any of your gigs?
Yes, one recently actually. They wouldn't choose to come and see because it's not their type of music. They came because they're family and they wanted to support me.
Yes.
But they just, because it's not their kind of music, they you know, as long as I'm not showing them up, you know, they say, well, yes, yeah, that was good, you know. So they support me in a way that they're letting me get on with what I'm doing.
Yes.
They wouldn't encourage me. And of course it's the north. It's different than the south or in European countries. But I think I mean, the strolling bones, as I'd like to call them, the Rolling Stones.
Struggling bones, did you just say?
Yes.
You see, that's northern humour for you, isn't it? I think.
Yes, because I mean, I struggle now if I do a gig. You know, I've got to have 2 days off.
There's a song in that, you know, Linda, Struggling Bones.
Yes. So they just advertised a new tour, and I'm thinking, well, they're still going. You know, it's not. We're not expected to stop at 60 now like we used to.
No, there's a lot of musicians who are 70 plus. I mean, I'm a firm, as much my family, you know, laugh at me. Cliff Richard, he's 83, you know,
Yeah.
and he's still going. Well, welcome back. You're listening to me, Suzanne Letting, on Let's Get It On, and I've got a very special guest. I've got Linda Lamon with me. We've been talking about Linda's music, the different genres of music that Linda has been creating over many years, and we've only got one more song to share with Linda. So before we do that, Linda, for all our listeners, where can we find your music? Where can we hear more of what you have created?
Well, I've got my own website, which is www.lindalamon.com. And you'll usually find all the updates on there of what I've been up to. And then I'm on Bandcamp as well. So that's, again, it's Bandcamp Linda Lamon. Well, it's actually Linda Lamon first and then bandcamp.com. I'm on Twitter at Linda Lamon, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I'm on YouTube as well under Linda Lamon. And if you want to get in contact with me personally, you can contact me on songwriter at lindalamon.com. And of course, I'm on all the Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Music, and all the social media streaming platforms.
Do you do this all yourself, Linda, as well, or do you have
Oh, I know. Tell me about it. It's any performer will tell you it's an absolute nightmare. About 50% of your time goes into this, and it's a necessity, unfortunately. So I do have days off, but yes, you have to check them all, you know, on a daily basis and keep people updated. So
I've just
it's a bit of a chore.
Your grandchildren probably would love to do this for you.
Not
There's a
for
challenge
me.
for them.
I tried going on TikTok and they were highly embarrassed.
They were, or you were?
They were. It was like, oh no, Nana's on TikTok.
But none of this was around, was it, 30, 40 years ago? None of
It's
these
the same
platforms.
scenario as if you walked into a disco, that, if your mum walked into a disco, go get out of here, it's their territory, isn't it?
It is a bit, yeah. And now your grandmas are doing it. And I think fair play to you, Linda, for taking it all on board, because it's almost a full-time job promoting your own music, isn't it?
Yes. And it's not a natural thing for me to show off.
No, most musicians don't like to. And it's, we have a couple of labels and promoters that do that for some of our artists, because it's enough to go into that creative process and create your lyrics and create your music, and then to have to go in and think, how are you going to get it heard? How are you going to get it out there to people who may love to hear your music and your creations? It is almost, as you say, 50% of your time, once you've done all of that, is then devoted to, how do I get people to listen to it?
Well, I do think that performing live is the best way, but you've got to have all this in place, because whenever I perform live, I always say I'm on Spotify, and almost all the time people say, "Oh, what name is it? I'll look it up now," and they look it up immediately.
Yes, we're in that immediate society. I want it, and I want it now.
Yeah. So, lots of people have gone on Spotify because they've actually performed live.
Linda, what was your best gig? If we were to take your musical career so far, what was I'm going to ask you the worst one as well, but what was your best memorable gig?
Well, I did during one of these festivals that I told you about previously, the science festivals, I met a soprano called Katerina Mina, and I was absolutely floored. She performed at the closing ceremony of one of the Starmus festivals, and she lived in London, and we swapped addresses, and we met up in London for coffee, and in the meantime I'd written a song.
As you do.
Like I did, and it was literally on my recorder. It was just my guitar and me singing this song, and I said, "Oh, I actually wrote a song. Oh, I'd love to hear it," she said. So I played it, and it was as rough as anything. And she said, "I love this. I'd love to record it." And I thought, oh no. So I booked a recording studio in London, a kind of basic, and we recorded it. And in the meantime, I looked up on the internet, because the title was Rainbow of Light. And I was looking up if anybody else had the title Rainbow of Light. And the International Year of Light came up, UNESCO, and through a process we ended up, long story short, her performing two of my songs in Paris at the UNESCO headquarters for the International Day of Light inaugural ceremony. So that I was very, very proud about that.
How about the alignment of that? That's incredible.
Yeah. The song was about how, because what the scientists were saying is, we suspect there's something else at the end of this rainbow that we've not discovered yet. It's definitely there. And there's all this thing about, we can only, there's 95% of the universe we don't understand when they put it down to dark matter. And I put all bits, what the scientists have been saying, into this Rainbow of Light. So it's a positive song about what could be really out there in the universe.
Because there is, in photography, you will understand this, and I hope I've got this right there. You can capture a refraction, can't you? Where you see the whole of the rainbow as a refraction.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh,
there you go. I never went as deep into it as that. I was a photojournalist, Suzanne.
Right.
So I was very much on the social side of photography. I loved it. I mingled with people, film stars, royalty, ordinary people.
Yeah.
So I understand about old style photography and how to adjust your lens and your speed to suit the light. But I've never really gone into the intricacies of
it happens. It's a spontaneous thing. I think.
Sorry?
It's a spontaneous thing that happens when, and some photographers have stumbled across it by accident, because it's one of those phenomenons that doesn't happen very often. But sometimes the cloud formation and wherever, generally on top of mountains. I'm sure it's called a refraction. If somebody out there knows what I'm talking about, please let us know, because Linda and I would like to know.
Yeah.
Is you can see the whole of the rainbow. So it's almost like the earth has become inside out. So
Yeah.
that circle of rainbow light, and then you see the earth in between,
Yes,
if you like.
I understand the basics of what it is. Refraction.
Yeah.
It's just an illusion. It's just a
Yeah.
reflection of itself.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
rainbow of light was something that I noted down. So I'm glad you've talked about that. And perhaps you can send that to me as well, Linda, and we'll add that in as the very last track to close the interview with, because that would be quite nice. So is that her singing, or is that you singing that version?
There's two versions of it out there.
Right.
Because Katerina did a beautiful version of it, which she performed at UNESCO. And then the devil inside me thought, do you know, I'd love to hear what this sounds like, upbeat, as a pop song.
Right.
So I did my own version called Are We Alone?
Okay.
Not to confuse the title.
Yeah.
So I'll send you both and see what you think.
Please, because that would be lovely, because I think it would be nice.
Same words.
But, and again, that's something that I find you artists do so cleverly, is that you can take a song and you can change its genre by either, you know, doing the vocals in a melodic way or doing them in an upbeat way, but it's the same song, same words. And I love that change. I think it's quite clever to be able to put the emotions into two separate genres. So we're going to listen to the last song that we can share today, and that is People Like You. Now, this was written and inspired by a homeless charity, I believe, that you were either working with or you met people who were helping people on the street. So tell our listeners a little bit about this track, People Like You.
Well, that was during my Manchester days when I was still living in Stockport. And I was asked by a charity worker to do a piece when I was working as a photojournalist about the homeless in Manchester. And I said, well, I find it very difficult to write unless I actually have experience. So he invited me on a homeless soup run in Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester. And I went along and my eyes were opened, you know, what I saw. So again, you know, I was in the moment, I soaked up the atmosphere and I wrote about what I saw. And it's just a raw interpretation of my experience of that night.
Beautiful. And it's a beautifully written song, and I love the story. I love listening to all of the lyrics in that, and knowing the story behind it kind of enhances the song. So let's have a listen to People Like You from Linda Lamon.
Homes bundled on the benches, they were all the people on. People like you, blanket up. Smart strangers stopped the roadside, but the girl could only sob. I would never harm a soul, she said, but my dignity I robbed.
Linda, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for sharing your musical career with us. It's been an absolute pleasure and delight talking to you. Linda, just one last time, where can everybody find you? If they want to look you up, which is the best place for them to go to?
Well, it's my website, actually, www.lindalamon.com, or you can find me on Spotify. That's quite easy, or Apple Music, or Bandcamp, and on Twitter at Linda Lamon, on Instagram at Zeplami, and you can contact me on songwriter at lindalamon.com if you wanted to get in touch.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you, Linda. And one last question that was on my mind, and I'm glad that it's just popped back into my head. Are you going to write a book?
Yes, I've actually got one I'm about to publish.
Have you?
Yes.
And what is this book?
Well, it's nothing to do with music. It's about my grandfather, and he was a fireman in Stockport in 1938. So it's been a long time in the making. It's been a long time in sitting on a shelf. So it's my priority for 2024 to get this book out there. And at the same time, I've got a new country album to send out early in 2024. So I'm going to be busy.
You are going to be busy. What I was thinking was, that's again, is it a fictional story, or is it a?
It's a
life story.
It's what they call a factional story.
Right.
So it's the story of my grandfather who died after fighting this major fire in Stockport. So it's a lot of what my dad told me, what I did, like verbal history, and lots and lots of research into the history of the area at the time.
Oh, you'll have to send me a copy of that book, because my mum would love that, because she was obviously born and bred.
Right, yeah.
I was born in Manchester, but obviously we moved south when I was about 9. So she will probably recognise a lot of the places that you talk about in that book, I would imagine.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was also thinking about your work and your experience of the repopulation of Dorset. The time lapse of pictures that you've probably got of how that's worked. Maybe that could be made into a nice book.
The 10 years of I had got that in mind, actually. I had one drafted, but I didn't get the Arts Council funding, so I didn't have the money, which is the usual story, isn't it, to get it published. So that is a possibility. Yes, that's all drafted up, ready to go.
So Brian, if you're listening, you need to get that book published. Now, just before we close, Linda has thought of something that nobody knows about her. So what's the secret?
Well, in 1993, I actually wrote a song for the Manchester Olympic bid. I've just thought about that because one of the choir members got in touch with me this week to ask me if I still had the cuttings, which of course I have, of their performances. So yeah, it was that went all over. That was on BBC and TV. So yeah, not many people realise that I actually wrote that song, and the Alicia Bardley singers sang it in Manchester.
Linda, you just mentioned to me off camera that you've now got a band. So you're now in a band performing. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Because so many people were asking me when I was going to perform these songs, and I panicked because I thought, oh no, I just hadn't had time. I was so busy. I mean, for 3 solid years, I was busy arranging and recording the albums, because I've sent out 5 albums in 3 years. I didn't actually physically have the time, and and then it all happened to happen very naturally, that somebody asked me to do a gig. I said, I haven't got a band. So he said, well, I play bass, so I'll play bass if you can get a guitarist. And then I thought about a very old friend who I knew in the 90s, and he's a brilliant guitarist, and he was up for it because he heard the album. I think because the album is such good quality that I'm not having any difficulty finding musicians. I didn't think it would happen as easy as that. So before I knew it, the bass player had a mate who was a drummer. So yeah, we put together, and when they asked us what we wanted to be called, and it was quite obvious to me, it had to be About Time, because my albums are called About Time.
Right.
It's about time I got these songs together. So the band had to be called About Time, because it's about time I got my band
But you did it all together. Now, that's another string to your bow, because presumably you're the king, you're the linchpin for everybody.
I'm the MD, I'm the organizer, I'm the gig finder, I'm everything in there. And thinking about the worst thing that ever happened to me, it's something's just come up. We were doing a gig, and I had this mini dress on. It was actually a gig about Venus, and I thought, oh, I'll know, I'll do this. I'll do this ABBA moment. And I had a robe on to be Venus the goddess, and you know, the kind of goddess thing, and then underneath I had the pop Venus with this mini, and it was a mini dress underneath. So halfway through, off came the robe, and there was this mini dress underneath. Well, I got these, when I'd worn it before, it was fine. It stayed a mini dress, but I'd worn it in the summer, and this was winter, and I'd put these, all the ladies will understand this, these hold-up knickers on, you know, very tight. But of course, the fat's got to go somewhere, hasn't it? And the fat was bulging underneath this dress. And I put these hold-up stockings on. And the material, as I was singing, I could feel it moving up my legs. And before I knew it, all the men were goggling at the tops of my stockings. And I couldn't do anything about it. I was in the middle of a performance, and I thought, oh, blow it.
So you just carried on like you do. Linda, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to you. I wish we had more time, because I feel we could probably go on for a lot longer. But so thank you very much for joining me, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.